This is an introduction to Talks from the Shed. I'm Ken Pugh. I'm a fellow consultant with Net Objectives. I've been doing software from both a process side and a technical side for, as we can see, a number of years. And I've got a few books out. Some of these books include Lean Agile, Acceptance Test Driven Development, The Story of the Triad, the Customer Unit, the Developer Unit, and the Tester Unit, as they create acceptance tests prior to implementation of the software. Prefactoring, which is about design, extreme abstraction, extreme separation, and extreme readability, as well as a number of other guidelines. This book won the 2006 Jolt Award. And interface-oriented design. For those familiar with object-oriented design, one of the guidelines is design to interfaces, and this book explains how to do that. I'm a fellow consultant for Net Objectives. Net Objectives, if you can see, does the entire cycle of consulting and training, from the business to the management to the team side, both process and technical. Here's my overall rule. There are exceptions to every statement except this one. Now, what do I mean by that? When I say you always ought to do something, I don't mean always, but usually always. And when I say you never ought to do something, I don't mean never ever, but usually never. So if there's something I say in any of these talks and you go, that's not going to work here, feel free to raise the exception, because we learn by the exceptions as well as by the rules. Here's my second overall rule. Context is everything. Everything exists in a context. Here's a context. We have context within it, and even smaller context within this. And in fact, even this context even exists in a bigger context. Understanding what context you're in helps you really understand the entire problem domain. And everything is always true in some context. The things that you might do in a context of delivering videos to a consumer are different than things that you might do in a context where you're selling stocks in an online web service. Now, when I talk about things, I'm going to be making sharp distinctions between two different concepts and everything. That's just for clarity. In reality, the line isn't quite as sharp. It's actually a little fuzzier line, a little broader line between the two concepts. And in fact, in many cases, it's not a perfect dividing line, but it's sometimes where you can leak over from one concept into the other. And the line isn't necessarily straight, it's a little crooked. Last thing is perspective. Somebody might look at a problem and go, this is how I see it. And they'll say, how do you see it? I'll say, well, this is how I see it. Oh, we obviously see things differently, so we'll ask a third person, how do you see it? And of course, they'll see it in an entirely different manner. And what we're doing is we have three different viewpoints or perspective on a problem. And we need to get together and agree that what we're really doing is having three different views of the same underlying model. Once we do that, we can eliminate a lot of conflict in our context. In my talks, I'm going to be presenting perhaps one or two different views on something. You might be looking at it from an entirely different view. We're not in conflict, we're just looking at things from different ways. Now, I've been doing software for a long time. I've learned a lot from a lot of different people. If I tried to list them all here, it'd be down to about 3-point type, and you wouldn't be able to be reading it. So, from all the people I've learned from all the conferences, all the informal chats, all the classes I've taught, because every time I teach a class, I learn from the students. I'd like to simply acknowledge everyone and thank you for your contribution to my knowledge. That's the end of the introduction to Talks from the Shed. If you'd like information about how we might help you with consulting or training, contact me at kenpugh@netobjectives.com. If you've got a question on a talk or ideas for other talks, give me an email at ken@talksfromtheshed.com. Thank you very much.